guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a comparison video today between the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 1, the Hypervenom Phantom 2, and the Hypervenom Phinish. So Hypervenom's new and old. I know a lot of people have been asking, what are the major differences between them? Those are questions we're going to be answering in today's video. We're going to talk about fit, we're going to talk about feel, we're going to talk about weight, and ultimately how these things perform. So if you are trying to decide on any of these three models, or even if you're trying to decide whether or not you should upgrade from the Phantom 1 into the Phantom 2 or Phinish, this video should help you out quite a bit. So if you're interested in learning more about what the differences are between these three Hypervenom models, please stick around, watch the entire video. And with that being said, let's get right into the comparison. To start things off, let's talk about what is by far the biggest difference coming from the original Phantom to the new Phantom 2 and Phinish models. And of course, I'm talking about the upper. Now, all three of these shoes feature a variation of Nike skin. On the new one, you have obviously second generation Nike skin. On the original Phantom, you have first generation Nike skin, which are two very, very different synthetics despite having the same name. Now, first generation Nike skin is a mesh-based synthetic material. It's a honeycomb pattern. That's what gives this shoe its unique texturing. And then on top of that mesh base, which also acts as your liner, you're gonna find several thin layers of polyurethane that give the shoe a slightly grippy texturing to the surface. Of course, the upper is also finished off with ACC all conditions control, something you still get on the current Phantom 2 and Phinish models as well. So we're not going to talk about that in detail too much. And you're also going to find little fused on supports on the inside of this shoe as well. Now, what was great about this first generation Nike skin is one, it's very thin, it's very flexible, and it just felt natural for a thin synthetic. Normally synthetics this thin can feel very plasticky and very rigid. You don't get that sensation from the original Phantom. It's sock-like, it's comfortable, and it really requires minimal break-in time. It also had the unique quality of being thin, but also having a slightly padded sensation because of that honeycomb mesh base. And also, it had the ability to stretch, which is something that you rarely see from thin synthetic uppers. So after a few hours of wear time, you would find that this shoe will stretch widthwise and kind of form to the exact shape of your foot, almost like a leather shoe would, but not quite exactly the same. So in terms of feel and overall comfort, this shoe is absolutely fantastic. The downside of this upper is that it would actually overstretch and it would impact the responsiveness of this shoe. When you were making quick cuts and changes of directions, not necessarily at first, but let's say a month down the line after wearing this shoe, you would find that the upper does roll over quite a bit, and you just don't have that one-to-one kind of lockdown feel, especially through the midfoot and forefoot area that you did from day one, just because the upper was stretched so much, and it just lacked structural integrity in general when a lot of force was put on the lateral or medial side of the upper. It just wasn't strong enough, I guess is the best way to put it. So feel and comfort, absolutely fantastic. Responsiveness, definitely one of the letdowns with the Phantom 1. Now in regards to what you're getting on second generation Nike skin on the Phantom 2 and Phinish models, it's almost the opposite of the original Phantom. They've kind of went away with the softness and flexibility aspect of first generation Nike skin and really concentrated on responsiveness, and that's what these shoes are all about. Now, obviously with the Phantom 2 and the Phinish, they look a little bit different in the heel and ankle area. The Phantom 2 features a mid-cut dynamic fit collar made from elasticated Flyknit. And then the center portion where the tongue would normally be is also made from Flyknit, whereas the Phinish is more of a standard cut. Very similar or pretty much exactly the same at the heel as what you found on the original Phantom, but with the one-piece design kind of shared from the Nike Mercurial Vapor 10. Now, one isn't better than the other. One isn't going to provide a better touch than the other. The synthetics are exactly the same. The only difference really is the fit at the rear portion of the shoe. So in regards to which one you should go for, it's really based on preference. If you like the mid-cut design, go for the Phantom 2. If you like something a little bit more standard, something closer to the original Phantom, the Phinish model is the way to go. But in regards to the synthetic, it's still technically a mesh base, but it definitely is a lot thinner. You don't have that same padded quality to it. It's pretty much a flat layer of mesh with thin polyurethane fused on top. Has some slight texturing to it, but definitely doesn't feel as grippy as what you found on the original Phantom 1. Now, you're also going to find another modification from the Phantom 1 to the Phantom 2 or Phinish model, and that is the addition of fly wire cables that run on both the lateral and medial side of the shoe. that in combination with the just stiffer in general type of synthetic that they've implemented, when you pull those laces tight, your foot is locked in place and secure very, very firmly. No rollover, no slippage, no movement on the inside of the shoe whatsoever. So kind of the exact opposite sensation of what you got from the original Phantom. The upper also has a very firm feel to it, and this is something that I've heard some complaints about. It's not for everybody. If you like a really soft feel from your soccer shoes, you're just not going to get that from the Phantom 2 or the Phinish. It'll become a little bit more flexible, but it certainly will never feel soft. It just isn't that type of synthetic. It's there to provide more of a barefoot feel, not quite as thin as what you're going to find from the Mercurial line, but definitely something that is thin and firm, and like I said, designed to be as responsive as possible. So if you want to make those quick cuts and changes of direction without having any rollover in your shoe, kind of getting that instant reaction time, that's really where the Hypervenom Phantom 2 and Phinish models excel, in my opinion. All of them are going to provide a barefoot feel. The Phantom 2 and Phinish definitely feels a little bit thinner in comparison to the Phantom 1. But again, it's really a matter of personal preference in terms of which characteristics you want in a shoe versus which characteristics are going to bother you. If you really don't want rollover in your shoe, the Phantom 1 probably isn't a great option. You're better off going for the newer models. Whereas if you prefer something that's going to be a little bit softer and just more comfortable in general, I think that the original Phantom upper is something you might like a little bit more. While I personally think that the Phantom 2 and Phinish models perform better, ultimately, I prefer the feel of the original Phantom 1. Is that necessarily the right call? No, but like I said, it's a matter of personal preference and what you actually like. So that's kind of the gist of what the major differences are in regards to the uppers when comparing these three shoes. The original and the new ones are very, very different from each other. And again, it's really up to you in terms of what you're looking for, in terms of how you should go about choosing which should be your next soccer shoe, or whether or not you should upgrade from the Phantom 1 to either the Phinish or Phantom 2, because like I said, they're just not the same at all. One thing that hasn't changed too significantly coming from the original Phantom to the Phantom 2 and Phinish is the sole plate and stud pattern. The original Phantom features a compressed nylon sole plate with, of course, the what was the new Hypervenom stud pattern. It's kind of a Mercurial-esque stud pattern, but with conical studs instead of bladed ones. Performs really well. Doesn't have the same bite as a bladed stud, but because they're conical in shape and they have a fairly narrow profile, they still dig in pretty well, and you get that nice freedom to twist and turn when your foot is planted. The only thing I wasn't a huge fan of with the original Phantom was the stiffness of the sole plate. Not so much once they were broken in, but definitely at first. Very, very stiff, especially in the forefoot and toe box area. It has that split toe design, not necessarily something you're really going to notice at all when you're wearing the shoe. But again, once broken in, the stiffness of the sole plate is definitely something that gets better. It becomes more flexible over time. But like I said, out of the box, they didn't feel as natural as they could have if they made the sole plate a little bit more flexible. Now, if you look at the Phantom 2, ignore the graphic because that has nothing to do with performance, or of course the Phinish model, they also feature compressed nylon sole plates with the exact same stud pattern, so traction has not changed whatsoever, but despite being the same compressed nylon material, it's been modified to be a lot more flexible out of the box. Very noticeable from the get-go, both in hand as well as on feet, and something that I think is a nice improvement coming from the original Phantom. So ultimately, once all of these shoes are broken in, the sole plate and the stud pattern will feel pretty much the same, but I like that the new Phantom 2 and Phinish model has a sole plate that's a little bit more flexible from right out of the box, so the break-in period isn't quite as I guess annoying is the best way to put it, because like I said, I didn't have any major issues with discomfort with the original Phantom. I just wish it would have become more flexible a little bit more quickly, and that's what you get with these newer Hypervenom models. For the sake of comparison, I thought we'd weigh in all three models in real time using this scale. Keep in mind, all three of these shoes are the exact same size 9 US, so this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the original Hypervenom Phantom, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.95 ounces, the equivalent of 197 grams. So very lightweight shoes. Change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Hypervenom Phantom 2. You can see that they weigh in at 7.7 ounces, the equivalent of 217 grams. So you're talking about a 0.7 ounce weight difference approximately between the original Phantom and the Phantom 2. Is this a significant amount of weight? It's something that honestly you'll notice a little bit in hand. On feet though, not only does this shoe feel completely different, it also has a much more locked down sensation. So the actual weight increase is not something that you're really going to notice much at all. More so what you're going to notice is just how different they feel in general when compared to the original Phantom 1. So weight, I don't think, should be a major deciding factor if you're considering going from the Phantom 1 to the Phantom 2. It should really be more about the type of feel that you're going to get from the Phantom 2, because like I said, it's entirely different from the original Phantom. And then of course we'll throw on the Phinish model, which is essentially the Phantom 2 minus the collar and the Flyknit through the middle, and you can see that they weigh in at a little bit less, 7.4 ounces, slightly closer to that of the original Phantom, the equivalent of 209 grams. So again, if you want something that's going to be a little bit closer to the original Phantom, I think the Phinish model is the way to go. But in regards to whether or not you're going to notice a weight difference between any of these shoes, not really. The major difference is about how they all feel. The Phantom feels completely different from the Phantom 2 in the Phinish, and the Phantom 2 feels a lot different from the Phinish, mainly in the heel area, because it's a completely different design. So again, really depends on what you want if you're trying to pick between these three models. In terms of comparing the fit and feel of the Phantom 1 and Phantom 2, like I described earlier in the video, they're entirely different from each other. Where you're going to notice with the Phantom 1 is that it has a very flexible upper, very soft, very kind of sock-like against your foot, but a fairly stiff sole plate from right out of the box, whereas the Phantom 2 is kind of the opposite, with a completely different fit and feel in the heel area because of this mid-cut design. So the sole plate is definitely more flexible from the get-go, but the upper is what feels to be thinner and a lot firmer. It doesn't have that same kind of softness against your foot that you're gonna find with the original Phantom. It also feels more solid. Your foot is more locked in because not only is the upper firmer, it also has those flywire cables working directly with the lacing system. So again, when you are making those quick cuts and changes of direction, there's pretty much no movement in the upper whatsoever. Your foot is locked in place. Whereas with the Phantom 2, the upper is softer, more flexible, not as well supported. So rollover and just lack of responsiveness is something that you will notice, especially down the line. So like I said earlier in the video, I really think that the Phantom 2 and even the Phinish model is going to perform better, especially when it comes to responsiveness. But ultimately, I find the original Phantom to be a little bit more comfortable. So again, it's kind of a trade-off thing. It depends on what you want, or whether you want to go from the Phantom 1, if you really like them, into the Phantom 2 or Phinish model. Of course, that mid-cut design certainly is not for everybody, but if you do like it, you can get it with the Phantom 2. But again, in regards to how the Phantom 1 and Phantom 2 compare to each other when it comes to fit and feel, they just don't. They're two entirely different shoes in pretty much every single way, other than the stud pattern. In regards to how the Phantom 1 compares to the Phinish, it's a slightly closer comparison, mainly in the heel, because it does have the exact same cut and the same liner as well. But again, the rest of the shoe feels entirely different. The upper is a lot firmer, it holds your foot in place better, it's more responsive, and it just feels totally different from what you get from the original Phantom. But I guess if you wanted a new Hypervenom model and you wanted something that is as close as possible to the original Phantom, the Phinish would be the better option for you. In regards to how the shoes fit, the original Phantom, like I mentioned, has that ability to stretch with its Generation 1 Nike Skin upper. So even if you did have slightly wider feet, after some break-in time, the upper would form to the exact shape of your foot, and they would be suitable for most people out there. With the Phantom 2 and of course the Phinish, the Nike Skin upper is not going to stretch or give at all. The way it fits from right out of the box is the way it's going to fit and feel for its entire lifespan. So again, they're still going to be suitable for most people, but they certainly are not wide by any means. So if you have really wide feet and you normally need your shoes to stretch, or your original Hypervenom Phantoms didn't feel comfortable until they stretched significantly, maybe these new Hypervenom models might not be the best option for you. In regards to sizing, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US in all the shoes you just saw in today's video, the Phantom 1, 2, and Phinish, and they all fit absolutely perfect. They do run true to size, so if you're coming from the original Phantom into one of the new Phantom 2 or Phinish models, going with the exact same size is what I would recommend for the exact same fit lengthwise. Alright guys, that is it for my comparison of the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 1, Phantom 2, and Phinish models. I know a lot of you guys will ask which is my personal favorite of the three, and in all honesty, if I had to pick a pair to wear right now, it probably would be the Phantom 1, followed by the Phinish, and then the Phantom 2. I know that the Phantom 1 is technically the most flawed shoe of the three in this video. The upper is not as well supported or as responsive as it should be, and I really do feel like the Phinish and Phantom 2 are better performers in pretty much every single way, but I just find the Phantom 1 to be more comfortable and just more natural on my feet. Again, it really comes down to personal preference, but just know that if you do have a pair of Phantom 1s and you really like them and you want to upgrade to the Phinish or Phantom 2, just know that the type of feel that these new Hypervenoms provide is completely different. Not necessarily better or worse, but just different entirely. So if you guys are interested in more information on any of the shoes featured in today's video, there will be review page links down below in the description. If you click to those review pages, you'll find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick up these shoes below their normal retail prices. If you have any questions at all regarding any of the shoes in today's video, leave them down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.